The day has been profound. We got a lot of variety for you on a Friday night, promise. Yeah, I got a special treat for you. For those of you who like a little late night nosh or a big meal at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think you want to be tuned to our guest and the exciting thing coming up this weekend. It's kind of a little secret, a little surprise for you. In the meantime, we should talk about how profound this day has been all across the world and America. So why don't we begin by going to the rundown. By the way, I'm Dan York. Thanks for tuning in. Here, you're like, what does that mean? It's actually a very serious thought about this incredible historic day today. Hang in there and I'll work it through with you. This is the highlight of the budget. And while I'm glad when it comes to $8.7 billion worth of hardly any progress, this is a bill that's being considered in our state legislature that I think is discriminatory in some ways. What else do I have for you? This is another classic example of a gubernatorial candidate who just says some things that everyone says, yeah, we should do that. And it's dumb and it won't work. Dun, 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 dun. Oh no, that's not the dun, 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 dun. See, I knew I'd get it, Belmont. And I forgot to mention Zimmer last night, and I apologize to Yankee, Red Sox, and all baseball fans across the globe. Something needs to be said about one of the greatest characters in all of baseball. Alrighty, let us go to the first item. Yeah, hold your thought on what that means for just a second. D-Day, 70 years later, commemorated at Normandy today. Here's a headline from 1944 in the Washington Post. That was real time. Here's today's headline 70 years later as they commemorate what happened back then. You know, it is so hard to get your mind around the courage of the greatest generation. Here's some excerpts of the action yesterday and today trying to capture it.
F-15s roared above the American cemetery in Normandy, where thousands of veterans lost their lives on D-Day.
These men waged war so that we might know peace. They sacrificed so that we might be free.
President Obama and French President Francois Hollande laid a wreath to honor the sacrifice of more than 150,000 Allied troops when they stormed the beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944. The president hugged veterans and thanked them for keeping America's commitment to liberty, equality, and freedom.
That claim is written in the blood on these beaches, and it will endure for eternity.
The celebrations today, yesterday, and today were profound. So I was watching MSNBC earlier this morning. I was watching the live coverage of what was going on in Normandy. And Chuck Todd from NBC was interviewing this American hero, and he was talking about his raid, on Normandy. And Chuck Todd asked him a good question. He said, what were you guys thinking about the night before, knowing that you were going to put your lives on the line like this? And he said, well, what happened was that our entire platoon was lined up, and a lieutenant came walking in front of us and said, and just did the following: 1, 2, 3, dead. 1, 2, 3, dead, all the way down the line. And what he was saying was, guess what? 1 out of 4 of you are going to die tomorrow. Can you imagine? The other thing that he was talking about, he said, listen, the other agreement we had to make in the operation was that we had to fight our instinct to help our brother if he was shot, because the only way this operation was going to work is to keep going. So if he gets hit next to you, you got to let him go. I can't get my mind, heart, whole system around the courage that these men had. And it permeates all through our military, no doubt. But it requires some real thought on our part, and thanks. There are no words that really get to this concept. The one concept that I had, though, today that really was wearing on me was that this 70th anniversary celebration is probably the last where we'll have living storytellers. Come the 80th, it'll all be research and pure history, which is why this one was so important. God bless them. God bless America. Next item. Ugh, I don't know how to make this transition. All right, so we have an $8.7 billion budget, and the highlight is that the Secundit River Bridge won't be tolled. Now, look, I've made a lot of editorial comments about that here so far, so I'm pleased with that. Jared Pliner has kind of a summary of yesterday's activity at the House Finance Committee.
I think everybody has felt for a while that it was unfair to burden the East Bay with the toll expense and impact the businesses over there.
And so the budget spreads the financial burden around. Under the plan, the 33-cent per gallon gas tax would rise a cent in 2015 and be adjusted upward every 2 years. The vehicle inspection fee would rise from $39 to $55, and the good driving fee would double from $25 to $50. Jay Edwards is House Majority Whip and also represents East Bay communities.
It's a great day for the entire state. It's an especially great day for my district. These people have been fighting this tooth and nail. And I keep saying today is a day that pit bulls won.
Well, yeah, the pit bulls won, and terrifically. I mean, groundwork by the grassroots to fight these tolls inspired Jay Edwards and other legislators to fight. And Nick Mattiello, the House Speaker, who you saw there first, kind of conceded on this whole thing. But we all lose because rather than just finding the money to maintain the bridge and other highway infrastructure inside an $8.7 billion budget, or an $8.65 billion budget instead, what they're going to do, they're going to just find new revenue streams. As I told you last night, the night before, and Jared described it, another cent on the gas tax to take us to 34 cents and a guarantee of it going up, which puts a dime difference between Rhode Island and Massachusetts. The heck with Connecticut. We know them to be too expensive to live. But our competitive nature with Massachusetts gets hurt there. And now it's, another $15 to get inspected, and now it's another $25 just to tell a judge I'd like to use my good driving record. The expense of operating this joint is way out of hand, and every solution we come up with for some problem here costs us more there. Crazy. I know the corporate tax is going to be down. I know the estate tax has been adjusted, but these are things we're supposed to do. There's no great idea in an $8.7 billion budget to jumpstart this economy. None. Next item. Who can hold the phone? This is percolating in the state Senate. Here's the headline. They okay a bill restricting drivers on phones. Okay, look, let's talk about this for a second. I got Bluetooth in my car, and I know how much I miss it. I had a little accident last weekend, got rear-ended, hit and run. I won't bore you with the details, but my car is in the shop getting fixed, right? So I got the rental car, and my Bluetooth is not connected, so I'm like this when I'm driving, preparing shows and all that kind of stuff. It'll be illegal for me to do that now. I get why that's a problem. 13 other states say this should be illegal while you're driving. I see a lot of distracted drivers, no doubt. The Bluetooth is my lifesaver. And so I can't wait to get back to it. But it's expensive for that to be built into your system, and I know there are remote units that you can buy. The bill suggests that, you get tagged $100 the first time, but they'll hold the fee if you prove that you went out to buy some kind of mobile unit, hands-free unit. Except there's a whole bunch of people that are exempt from this. Like law enforcement, they can use it, bus drivers can use it, and taxi cab drivers can use it because it's part of their official work. What, their work is more important than my work? So if I'm calling Jess to say, hey, listen, we need something for the television show tonight, my work's not as important as their work? I think that's discrimination. Your work's not as important as the taxi cab driver's work? Keep working on the bill. Get it right before you pass it. Next. Political promise to forgive loans. This is Gina Raimondo doing what Gina Raimondo has done exceptionally well. Here's a headline. Raimondo announces plan to make college affordable. I love this stuff. They all do this. All these candidates do this. They pick a topic that's near and dear to our hearts. College education is a life dream for so many people, right? And parents do everything they can to help their kids afford it. And kids borrow money out the wazoo just to chase the degree because it's out there that if you don't make that kind of money, if you don't get a degree, you're not going to make the money. But one of the things she wants to do is she wants to forgive loans if students promise and take jobs in Rhode Island. And she thinks that business is going to partner with her to actually pay off portions of loans, and then we're going to forgive loans. First of all, that ain't going to happen. What businesses are going to start paying off student loans? Businesses pay kids for jobs that should be done. Kids will stay in Rhode Island if there are job opportunities, and if they got job opportunities, they can make enough money to pay back their loans. It's just, it just sounds good. but it's pablum. It's political pablum. Pay attention. Not just to the aesthetics, but to the specifics. Next. That's all we got left. I had California Chrome in the Derby. I forgot to bet him in the Preakness, and now we got a big decision tomorrow. Do we bet California Chrome? Here's my prediction. I think the horse wins, and we have a Triple Crown winner for the first time since 1978 in a firm. But he's going to hold on for dear life because he's exhausted. So he'll lead going into the stretch and hold on. What am I going to bet? I'm going to bet Chrome, all Chrome. If I can get some odds where some upset second places means some money. Then I throw 5 horses into the triple like I did the Derby, and we're buying dinner or paying for college or out $100. We'll see. And finally, Zim. What a character. God rest his soul. Passed away 2 days ago at the age of 82, 83, I believe. You know what? With all he did in baseball, this is what he's most remembered for, at least in the modern time. Charging Pedro at 72 years of age. If you want to know what kind of guy he was, he charged Pedro when he was 72. All the other stuff, the long list of teams that he played for and managed, what a baseball guy. Baseball will never be the same, and he left a signature. But he charged Pedro when he was 72. So how many of you have had a late night sandwich, hot dog, whatever, at Haven Brothers? There's a movie next. All right, I got to admit I have. Not a lot, because I'm not hanging around downtown at the wee hours. Don't always have to be the wee hours, but that's when it seems like it's best. Here's a preview or a little trailer on the big movie.
Why would you have to move it? We're talking 2 parking spaces.
Oh, I'll get mad if you try to move it.
It should be here.
People see this going, they realize Providence is going down.
Get outside!
All right, Haven Brothers. Who doesn't know Haven Brothers? Jeff Toste is the producer, director, creator, big picture thinker, marketing guy, agent of the movie known as the Haven Brothers movie, correct?
That's correct.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you. Before we get into the movie, your background. You are an independent movie producer at all. Tell me about what you do.
I do commercial work for my day job. Basically, a lot of business profiles for small businesses around New England.
Okay. And is this your first independent movie project, or?
Yeah, my first feature-length film. Basically, spent about 3 years on it in between making commercial work for small businesses.
And it's a 75-minute film?
That's correct.
Where'd you come up with this idea?
Lover of Americana, roadside Americana, nostalgia, and Haven Brothers is this place that everybody knows of it, but few people know its long and interesting background.
Yeah, you know, people who are just coming in at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to grab a cheeseburger don't know that thing's been there for 100 years, right?
Yeah, 121 years this year.
All right, so we'll talk about the history of the whole thing in a second. Independent filmmaking is a really interesting endeavor, is it not? Labor of love sometimes more than anything else.
It's like any other kind of risky project. You hope for the best. With a film like this, you go into making it, and you hope there's going to be enough story, there's going to be enough background, you're going to be able to get the things the tools you need or the pieces of the story you need to make it work. And that's part of the reason why it took 3 years to make it. I wanted to make sure I get everything that was necessary.
How long?
Story. 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
How many nights hanging out at the food truck?
A lot of nights. Sometimes 4 nights a week.
For 3 years?
Well, not every month, but there were months like summertime and things like that where I would spend sometimes 3-4 nights a week going down there.
So it dawned on you that you should do this. When? When did the light bulb go off?
It was a long time ago. It was it was over 3 years ago, and looking for the right project. I wanted to tell a Rhode Island story, but I wanted to tell a story that wasn't that could go beyond Rhode Island, but something that drew attention to the subject matter I liked. Like I said, Americana, and the Haven Brothers is just this place. I think a lot of people take it for granted. They didn't realize there's so much to the backstory beyond.
Well, we know it's kind of special, but we don't know how special, right?
Right. Well, it's the original. I'd say the original food truck, and I mean it's not the first food truck, but it's part of the legacy of the fact that all the original diners were on wheels. All the original diners were food trucks. They were originally horse-drawn wagons, and then over the decades they lost their wheels for foundations as they became like stationary restaurants. But Haven Brothers is the one that remained. It's part of this legacy of the food truck, and so when people now with food trucks all the rage and they're wondering where they began. Well, this is where they began. They began in Providence, Rhode Island.
All right, so quickly, the history on the Haven Brothers is?
Well, in 1872, Walter Scott started the very first late-night lunch cart, they called them, on a wagon. By the late 1800s, Haven Brothers came along, and they were very popular then. Third-shift workers, a lot of third-shift workers, a lot of factories here in Rhode Island. They need a place to go. They need a place to eat at late night. So Haven Brothers was the place to go. And over the decades, as Providence changed, and not necessarily for the better, as we know through the 80s, yet Haven Brothers survived and made it through, and it's just a testament to that kind of work ethic and entrepreneurial spirit that I think is very much a part of Rhode Island.
The owners now are?
The Justies.
Okay, and how long have they had it?
They've had it since 1986.
Okay, and they were cool with you coming in and filming?
Not up front.
No?
No, they were. There's not a lot of room there, and I did a lot of filming behind the refrigerator, which is right over near the grill. You know, you can't really move around. Not a lot of people can fit through there, so I would have to sometimes film through the window.
Well, they had to see the marketing aspect of it, though, how great it would be for them. No?
Well, I mean, you know, for
or
me,
maybe they don't need it because there's just so much business.
Honestly, I don't think they need it. I mean, it's like it's like location. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like everybody says, they're right next to City Hall. They've got a guaranteed audience. This film is just like you know, frosting on the cake, really, for them. But for me, it was about this opportunity to tell this great story, and just the more I dug, the more I found.
All right, when we come back, we'll tell you how you can see the movie. This is something everyone's going to have to see because everyone's been there, right? Stay with us. Yeah, the original food truck, Haven Brothers, part of the feature movie, havenbrothersmovie.com. This has got to be fascinating for everybody who lives in Rhode Island, southern New England, or has visited the place and has enjoyed. What time do they set up shop, by the way, most days?
They show up at 5.
All right, so they begin at 5 at night, huh?
Until 3 in the morning, and then 4 in the morning on the weekends.
Yeah, all right. So Jeff is the independent filmmaker that has put this chronicle together. It's a 75-minute, that's a full-length film. And you can see it tomorrow night. There's a few tickets remaining for the early show. We've got this information. I want to make sure we get it up front so that we don't miss it. Premiere info tomorrow at the Columbus Theater on Broadway. Tickets are cheap. You know, probably a burger probably costs you that at Haven Brothers these days. $11 in advance. Well, just go to the door and pay your $15, okay? And the guy's invested in this project. He needs some return on investment. More information at havenbrothersmovie.com. And you should know that the 7 o'clock show, because it's so well sold, has caused a 9:30 show. We didn't put that up, but 9:30 tomorrow night. You're cool. So you got 2 chances to take a look at the movie. And I'm sure you're going to find a way to social media this thing out and find a way to profit on this. It seems to me you're one of these classic artists who went out, probably put a really terrific movie together. Now you're trying to figure out how the hell to make a buck from it, right? You know?
They tell you that when you finish a movie, you're halfway done. And I didn't learn that till I was done. So, and the halfway done part is that once you finish making the film itself, you need that other 50% is now promoting your film, getting the word out. And that's really the hard part because you're competing with endless numbers of other people doing the exact same thing.
Well, I'm happy to help. I hope that some of you will go on down to Columbus Theater tomorrow night and take a look at the movie. I wonder, do they have any data on how many individuals have actually passed through that food truck over time?
I don't have that data, but in the time I've been there, I mean, I interviewed over 100 people for this film, and that was just me.
And some crazy things have happened there,
and a lot of crazy things happened at Haven Brothers.
While you were there, I did see a little scuffle.
Yeah. Well,
how could a scuffle happen at 3 o'clock in the morning in downtown Providence after everybody's coming out of the bars? How could you possibly run into something like that?
They drank too much and they, they have a bad attitude.
But I think Haven Brothers in the food truck is something that, even if you've never been there, you say you have been, because you don't want to look like you don't know Haven Brothers, Dell's Lemonade, and coffee milk, that kind of thing, right? I mean, it's that much of a fabric in the city. Yeah,
it's a piece of Rhode Island culture. People have referred to it as an icon, as a landmark, as an institution. But I really believe the story is bigger than just. I mean, of course, there's a love affair with Haven Brothers here for many people, But people, if you like food trucks, if you like diners, if you like history, if you are a foodie person, my objective was to tell a good story, whether you knew about Haven Brothers or did not know about it.
Well, congratulations on the movie.
Thanks so much.
Let us know how you did, and we'll come back and see what the progress is.
I'd love to do
It's
that.
a little piece of Americana and Rhode Island.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, 7 to 9:30 tomorrow at the Columbus Theater on Broadway. Support them. Your State of Mind when we come back, too. I bet you that movie's going to be pretty good, the Haven Brothers movie. Again, at havenbrothersmovie.com. Jeff Toste is classic. I love these film guys. They make the films, then they go, now what am I going to do? Well, you got to have people see it. So get out there and see it tomorrow at 7 and 9:30. I think you'll have an edge on everybody else who's going to catch up and want to see that movie. I mean, you know, I have to admit, I think twice late nights and years ago. I'm an old guy. I don't hang out in the city very much late anymore. Let's go to your State of Mind. 228-1886 is the number where you dial. State of Mind at myritv.com is email. Of course, your Facebook post, you tweet at me. And here's a, I don't know, Facebook post we got today? What do we got? Aaron writes, after these recent Fung escapades, I guess we know who was telling the truth back in January. I was scratching my head trying to figure out what happened in January. But Aaron helped us by linking us to a story that he says he now has the answers to. Gubernatorial candidate Block accuses Fung campaign of lying in pushball. Oh, the politics never stop. And the silly season will just continue, and it's only going to get worse, not better. So put your political helmets on. What a great week. Thanks to our soldiers. D-Day, 70 years later. God bless them. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Go California Chrome.